Mr. Smith, I'm going to stick with my pre-series prediction. Spurs in 7 games, winning a very close down-to-the-wire Game 7 back in San Antonio. But I am here today to tell you I feel a whole lot better about Game 6 than I did about 24 hours ago, because I loved it that my Spurs finally cracked the code. They broke the spell that Serge Ibaka had over this entire franchise. 6 previous times this year, 4 in the regular season, games 3 and 4 back in Oklahoma City, Serge Ibaka had done his big-time number on these Spurs. He had intimidated them, he had demoralized them, and last night they figured out how to attack him with a little different lineup featuring Boris Diaw in for Thiago Splitter, who's just lost in this series, and of course my man Manu in for Danny Green, even though Danny Green hit some big shots last night and the Spurs bench prevailed with Danny Green hitting big shots, Patty Mills hitting some big shots. Ginobili was the driving force. He was the fire starter. And once again, even though the Spurs have now lost, 9 straight games in Oklahoma City, I remind everybody during this last regular season, by 5 games, they had the best road record in the NBA. So I think they have regained their confidence. I think they will attack and then drive and dish to open shooters much better than they have in those 6 games against Ibaka previously this year. So I'm looking for a close game. I'll still say that Oklahoma City pulls it out. I'm going to go 105 to 100. But I think the Spurs have gotten their confidence back enough that I will trust them far more to close it out in 7 games back in San Antonio.
I think that's the way to go. I think you were right to call it for 7 games. It's amazing to me how lopsided this entire series has been. Every game has been a blowout. Every game on the home court, the team has won. I don't anticipate that San Antonio is going to Oklahoma City and winning Game 6. As a matter of fact, it wouldn't surprise me at all if Oklahoma City blew them out Saturday. I'm reluctant to make the daggone trip, for crying out loud, since there's double connections required just to get there. It's just nauseating, to be honest with you, to have to travel to this game. But nevertheless, once you get there, it's going to be a big-time basketball environment. I have no doubt that Russell Westbrook and Kevin Durant will respond in kind, and they will force a Game 7 back here in San Antonio, because I don't think San Antonio is going to bring its A game. I think they're going to reserve that for Game 7. They'll come out and try to make some noise early, but the second Oklahoma City gets momentum, just like Greg Popovich was thinking about Tuesday night, he'll be thinking about Monday, this Saturday night. It's just going to be that simple for me, and I see the San Antonio Spurs losing Game 6 and coming back and winning Game 7.
But again, Stephen A., the beauty of last night's blowout, shocking blowout, in which they led at one point by 33 points, is that Tim Duncan was required to play only 30 minutes and Ginobili only 21 minutes. So they are capable of giving you 30 or 35 minutes if, in fact, you hang into the fourth quarter of a Game 6. Would Coach Pop like to finish this off in Game 6? Well, sure he would. And if you get the Thunder a little bit on their heels, boy, I would go for the jugular in this one. But again, you could be right. Maybe he'll just play for Game 7.
It's not happening, and it's not a matter of fatigue. Tim Duncan and those boys weren't tired in Game 3 or 4. The problem was they were getting run out of the building, and Greg Popovich said, let me go to my bench. And Boris Diaw and them, diminished a 27-point deficit to 11 points. But that was from their bench. It's not about fatigue or anything like that. It's about the fact that they were getting thoroughly outplayed. Tim Duncan certainly didn't seem to lack energy when he was arguing with Greg Popovich, and then ultimately, one of the players coming off the floor about what they should be doing from an assignment perspective. They were getting thoroughly outplayed because the Oklahoma City Thunder are an entirely different team at home than they are on the road. That is why they will win Game 6 on Saturday, but they got to come back to San Antonio. To me, their best shot at winning this series was last night in Game 5 when they had that momentum. Now San Antonio knows they can overcome anything against these guys, and I think they'll be ready for Game 7, and I think they'll be geared towards Game 7.
Okay, give me a final score. You got a blowout? You got it by 20 or 25?
I see Oklahoma City winning somewhere along the lines of a 107 to 90.
17. I might take 17 in San Antonio.